Hey, what's up, Bloomfield? Today we're going to be looking at skills reviews and background reviews, solving for X, and also absolute value and different forms of solving for X. So the first unit is just solving for X and all kinds of different things. This is part one. There's a second part two. So anyway, I'm going to do a couple of these problems. Most of these I think you can do on your own. All right, so I believe problem 1 through 4 you should be able to do easily without any help or assistance. Let's just look at problem 6. You should be able to do 5 if I do 6. And so let's talk about what that really means when we're going through this process. So what I like to think about this when I see this concept, so anything that I see on the top, I think, all right, there's a number on the top. And you see that thing that I see in the bottom, so like this 1/3 y. I'm going to picture this as if it's 6/3y. Well, so that's a multiply, that's a divide. So it makes it significantly easier when I think about that as being in the top, that as being in the bottom. So I can set it up as top bottom and think about it as a divide, right? So the fraction doesn't become as cumbersome or as much as a problem. So now I know when I multiply that, I'm just getting 2y. Well, 6 divided by 2, so the top, bottom, that's also 3x. Once again, 6, 3, so I can think about that. Well, what does that give me? Well, 6/3 is 2. And 2 times 11 would be negative 22x. And same way here, 6 divided by 2 gives me negative 3y. And now all I'm doing is just combining anything that's a like term, so 3y. So that gives me negative 1y, or negative y. And 3x minus 22 gives me negative 19x. And that would be what we get for that type of problem. So I just wanted to show you that so we can think about fractions as not so hard if I think about them top and bottom. All right, for me, when I'm doing these type of problems, I see a bunch of fractions here. What I would like to do is, all right, let's see if I can find a way to get rid of this fraction. So if I found a way to get rid of that, what would I do? Well, I want to multiply by 2. So whatever is the denominator, I'm going to multiply everything by my denominator. And guess what happens? Then I don't have any fractions. So for those of you who don't like the fractions, this is an easy way. So I get 2 times p. 2 times 1/2 would just be 1. 2 times negative 1/2 would be minus 1. And then we have equals over here. I have 2 times 9/2, which would give me just 9. And 2 times negative 5p would be negative 10p. And I know all of you know how to do it from that point. We get the 0 here, so I get 2p equals 9 minus 10p. Well, I like to just get my p's together, so if I move that over there, we get 12p equals 9 and divide by 12, so I get p equals 9/12, which simplifies to 3/4. All right, so remember on inequalities, well, first off, if I have an inequality, we know that this one is going to be an open circle if it is less than or equal to. If it's greater than or equal to, or anytime it's equal to, it's going to be the full closed-in circle. And then we just figure out what way we graph it on the number line. So first off, I got to solve it as if it's an equal sign. So we're going to go through that process of solving just like it's an equal sign. And then we just graph that on our, so we get negative 10x, I get plus 20, and once again, so I get negative 2x minus 12. Let's move our x's together, so I'm going to add the 2x over here, so I'm going to get negative 8x plus 20 greater than or equal to negative 12. Move the 20 over, so subtract 20, so I get negative 8x is greater than, so that would be negative 32, and divide by negative 8. Now, remember, when you divide by a negative, so when I divide by the negative, I flip the sign, so I get x, instead of being greater than, becomes less than 4. Open circle, and it's going left. Because it is less than, typically just follow the direction of the arrow. So if I make that into an arrow, that's the way we have to go. All right, so in this problem, in absolute value problems, remember, absolute value should give me 2 answers. So I should always get 2 answers because what's the absolute value of negative 2 is 2, and absolute value of 2 is also 2. So there's 2 different answers that can give me a 2. So the first thing we want to do is think about absolute value as like a big giant X. So just like if I would solve this problem, negative 3x minus 2 equals negative 14, we have to treat that kind of the same way as like this is like a big giant X. So we got to do all the other components to it before we can, so we need to move our 2 over and that whole process. So let's go through and we're going to move our 2 over. So now I got negative 3, 1 minus x. And if I move the 2 over, I know I'm adding 2. So that would give me negative 12. And I can't distribute this in. Nothing goes into an absolute value. So the only way to get rid of that is divide by negative 3. Just like we said, if I treated that just like that whole thing was a big giant X, right? We would end up with that. So we would divide by the negative 3. So now I have absolute value of 1 minus x equals 4. All right, now two things. If this comes out to a negative, can you have absolute value equal a negative? No, you cannot. So if there was a negative, this would be no solution. Since it's a positive, I can say, well, 1 minus x can equal 4, or 1 minus x can equal negative 4. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Take our answer, just make and solve for both scenarios. So in this case, subtract the 1 over, so I have negative x equals 3, and so x would equal negative 3, or in this case, subtract the 1 over, negative x would equal negative 5, or x would equal 5. And there is my answer for my absolute value expressions. Hope this helped for part 1, and hope you got all the parts right. Good luck on the quiz.